Police at your door. Bailiffs demanding entry. A legal threat lands without warning. In that moment, who's actually on your side? This is Willoughby Genius Mark II, a legal protection platform that acts like your own personal legal team. Built on over 750,000 verified legal entries, spanning 50+ countries, it delivers immediate, actionable guidance when it matters most. No appointments, no gatekeepers, no £300 an hour delays. Just clear, lawful direction in real time. It doesn't replace the law. It gives you direct access to it. Powered by advanced AI, Willoughby Genius Mark II verifies, prompts, and protects. Calmly, precisely, and without bias. It never forgets a statute. It never panics. And it's always available. Legal technology is moving fast. Those who understand it early will have choices. Those who don't will be managed by it. Willoughby Genius Mark II goes further than any barrister. It educates too. Know your rights. Act decisively. Take back control. Click on the link below and use LSB Pro for £5 off your first month's premium.
Hello and welcome to another LSB Film Podcast with me, your host Chris with a K. I hope everyone's well. So, what can I say about today's guest? She stood against mandates, exposed systemic corruption, and rebuilt her life through resilience, faith, and truth. Today's guest is no stranger to the show. This will be her third appearance. Today's guest is Irene, a health professional of 42 years across multiple continents, an author, a healer, and a woman whose story has sparked debate around medical freedom, courts, censorship, and global power structures. From losing her career after refusing the COVID solution, to navigating the legal system, travelling through China, and comparing East versus West systems of control. Irene returns with one of the most raw and thought-provoking conversations yet. This episode covers law, health, media narratives, consciousness, global politics, personal loss, and why she believes that humanity is facing a major shift. Whether you agree or disagree, this is a conversation that challenges assumptions and asks bigger questions. So, Irene, welcome to the show. Let's get into it.
Are you concerned about all this corruption being rebranded as conspiracy theory? Well, don't you worry. Sit back and relax and join in the conversation with today's guest. Welcome to another LSB Film Productions podcast with your host, Chris Brooks.
So it's wonderful to have this legend back with us on the show. For those who haven't seen previous podcasts with this lovely legend that is Irene, Irene's just going to give you a little bit of backstory of who she is, what she's done, and where we're going from here. Over to you, Irene.
Well, I know we haven't got 5 days to talk about everything and everything we've been through, but I just want to say that I've been a health professional for 42 years. I've worked in many continents. I'm an author. I write articles for health magazines, and most of all, I'm a healer. My journey started during the worst part of my life started during COVID, when I declined to take the vaccination. I stood up to the system, I answered them, and they didn't respond. The only way they responded to me was attacking me and making false accusations. I was fired in the November of 2021 for not taking the jab, and I just helped a family walk around my garden, even though I wasn't providing care for them, and because they couldn't get family from overseas because everything was locked down. So I just wanted to be a mother. And that woman walked around my garden, and I was reported for practicing not vaccinated in a clinical setting, posing harm to the public. And the bottom line is that couple were vaccinated. So, so on it goes. So they made stories up. They made a lot of lies. I gave some post-dated forms to women, so I signed the bottom, wrote the date they should be doing it. And then the Ministry of Health, through this report from this midwife manager, decided to take me to criminal court. And I went through 5 days of criminal court. I went through 5 judges beforehand. I stood up to them all and I presented myself, and it was Law Council. I'm with Law Council. It's a private trust in Tangatafenua outside the corporation. And it was Tracy in there that gave me the courage to stand up to them. And during that process, I realized that the whole system was corrupt. The complaint system was based on fraud. It was based on destroying the life of health professionals, probably money laundering, corrupt judges, corrupt lawyers, and I called them all out.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to play a game, and you have to be able to, in order to expose them, you've got to play them at their own game.
And to them, it is
and
a
know
game,
that
isn't it?
you have the power. So what do you think to that so far?
Well, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head when you mentioned you've got to play the game, because to them it is a game, isn't it? They're all playing parts. Even politicians, you know, we've had ex-politicians in this country say that before they go into a meeting, they're given scripts to read. It's all,
Yeah.
It's a game. It is a game. It's just not a game to us because we have to live
Well, they
by their
play
game.
legalese, right? And we play laws, so everything's done on paper
The pen is mightier
and
than the sword.
contract at the end of the day. Now, when I went through criminal court, they forged my signatures and created documents, especially on a day when I was in the hospital. I was supposed to have been in four places. I was supposed to have been picking the script up from the pharmacy. I was supposed to have been in an ultrasound department, a laboratory department, and also in the hospital waiting for surgery.
Houdini.
Yeah. So I put this through to the police fraud squad because it was the pharmacist here involved that, with the Ministry of Health, with their backing, and I realised they got their handlers coming into court. So I called them out on it and I reported it to the police, and the police did nothing. They could have stopped that court case. Yeah.
They would go, if it's anything like the British police, they had something called Tala, which is where they were not allowed to report on any kind of that vaccine harms. And
that's happened globally. It's not just with the police, it's with the health system, it's with every system. It had been so infiltrated that everybody was bound to silence. Yeah. So there was just the minority of us that stood up to it, and we were the outcasts, right? We were called the stupid people, the careless people,
anti-vaxxers, you name it.
So what happened is with the court and criminal cases, actually it was too much stress for my husband, and I lost him last year.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I'll go into his story a little bit later because you'll see what happened and hear
how it links.
Realized that our whole management system, whether it's midwifery managers, teacher managers, or whatever else, they're bullies and narcissists, okay? And they will do anything to keep their power or their place. So after the criminal court case, because I was convicted and discharged with no fine, because we called the judges and lawyers out for who they were in the courtroom. You know, you were clerk dressed up as a judge, paid for by these people, which is the lawyers, in a kangaroo court. Everything's run by lawyers and bankers. Okay? Doesn't matter where you look or where you go, it's lawyers and bankers. And we're just the slaves to the entire system. What was that? I didn't quite get what you said.
I said, if I'm right, I said the
Yeah.
word bar, as in the bar guild,
Mhm.
isn't that Latin
Yeah.
for bank?
Yeah, it is.
Mm.
So what happened is I was convicted and discharged, but I know that there's a good force behind supporting us, right? There was the IAG hotline, and you might believe in Space Force or not or whatever, but I contacted them to say, I have an issue here. I'm being attacked. This is what's happening. I need help.
Mm.
Well, can you believe the headlines in the New Zealand Herald read midwife convicted and discharged, declining to buy a weapon and see you at the military tribunals. Now, that was a trigger to me to say good things are happening.
So what kind of good things, what was going through your mind then when that did happen then?
Well, at my mind, I know that there's a dismantlement of these elites. There's a dismantle because I've followed it through on all the social medias and things like that, and I've taken the story, right? So people will say, oh, Trump's bad or Putin's bad or whatever. I says, no. If you dig deeper, you'll see good things are happening. It's not about Trump. It's not about Putin. It's not about Xi Jinping in China. It's about what's happening behind the scenes. Don't look at the news.
Mm.
Yeah. Look for the differences in your environment, because the trafficking's coming out to light. The things about COVID are slowly being released. So you've got to know that there's a major force. I don't know if it's a planetary shift. I don't know what's happening behind it. I don't want to, I kind of say, put myself into it. Go on.
I think, and I've said this on a couple of podcasts now, I think we are going through a change. And I think when they talk about the return of Christ, I think that is in consciousness form, not as in some bloke in robes with a beard. I think it's a consciousness upgrade.
Yeah. We've all got to know and believe and feel and connect with our surroundings and nature. And not only that, we've got to go within. Okay. Yeah. We know that COVID brought a lot of disaster, a lot of broken relationships. It woke up a lot of people. My husband was from communist Poland, for goodness sake, and he would sit and he'd be watching the CDGN. He didn't speak the language or anything, but he was in his own way. And he would say, Putin's bad, 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 bad. You know, and start doing this. And I said, well, honey, we've been together for 28 years. So if you want to read about Putin, I'm going to go into the bedroom and read about the things I'm interested in. But Putin or Trump or anybody else is not going to give us a divorce.
Mm. Yeah.
That's true love.
That is true. I mean, from what I can work out with regards to Putin anyway, I think he's been the only character in this whole theatre production that has kept the New World Order from being fully unleashed.
Well, I think if people look back at the old pictures, we've got Winston Peters here, who's supposed to be in his 80s. You've got pictures of previous prime ministers and presidents and current ones. Just go through the archives and pick the pictures out. Do they look the same? I don't think so.
No, there's a lot of
yeah. So I think that you've got to kind of look at the bigger picture, be centralized, go within, because when you're grounded and you're with the universe and you're spiritual, your intuition will show you the right path. So I thought you can't victimize people because they've got an opinion. Yeah. People have opinions and they'll rant at me, oh, you can't mention Trump, you can't mention this, you can't do this. But I'm saying, well, why can't I? Are you just going on the media? Have you looked at it? How do you feel within? I'm not going to argue with you because there's no point.
There's echo chambers,
and you have to protect yourself. from
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. It's
Mm.
echo chambers and people.
Yeah.
Well, it's that fear thing as well. People are too scared to necessarily, in many instances, are too scared to voice their actual opinions in case they get labelled something.
Yeah, look at
Yeah.
the TV ads at the moment in New Zealand. We're going through floods, and we've just gone through a cyclone, which all mixed us really, and it's only hitting the lands where they want to reclaim it. It's not. It's not.
What you mean? What you
It's only
mean?
going to
Like
where
where
it wants.
15-minute cities are being planned? Oh, that would be
Yeah,
quite a
it's
good
only going
area.
to where they want it to be.
Mm.
But it's always going to backfire on them because it's getting too frequent now. Surely somebody's going to wake up and say this can't be true. If you
I'd like
look
to
at
think
where we
so,
are,
but when you look at what has gone on in the last 5 years,
mm,
you know, never before has there been more of a reason to have a hitman on the go somewhere, which then makes you
well, it's
question
like
all
they
the
had some.
previous ones. No, but it just makes you question like all the previous assassinations which have happened. They clearly had to be inside jobs because
Well,
what
of
we've witnessed in the
course.
last 5 years is way worse than anything I would say that we've seen in the past. And look at what's happened as a result of what happened in the
Well,
past.
I grew up outside Poland, like, and I became president of the Polish Association here. And there was the whole Katyn disaster where the prime minister and all the generals, the plane went down and everybody was killed. And I was a twin brother, so the baddie got the president post and the good one and everybody else was killed. But they were going to Katyn because they were bringing out the truth that it wasn't the Russians that killed all those people.
Mm,
It's actually the Ukrainians. So let's look at, life, as it is when you go through that. It's like when anything goes down like that, you've always got to look and see what's behind it. Yeah. And there's always something behind it. Good people have been taken down. I think good people have been put into witness protection. Good people
mm,
like me are continually being chased by a system because they're fearful of us.
yeah.
So why would they attack a 70-year-old? I mean, come on, I'm 70 now. They're still, you know.
Because you might be 70, but the knowledge that you possess is timeless.
Well, it is because I often do a lot of meditation and I ask when I go to sleep at night to bring out the archive. I don't know what they are, but it seems like the archives give me the wisdom to be able to make the decisions
I think
to
somebody
catch
needs
them
to
out at
come and
their
knock
old
on my
game.
bedroom door when you go into dream world and say, "Oh, come with me."
that's what that's what my new partner says is
Is it?
beware. I'm the fiery monkey in the Chinese. I'm Irene. I'm the Greek goddess of peace, and I've got the surname Kalinowski, which is Polish nobility, and they'll get the bigger than the Warsaw Uprising if they keep
Yeah.
chasing forward.
What does Irene mean?
It's the Greek goddess of peace. It's peace.
Is it?
I'm
Okay.
the peacemaker. Yeah.
Oh, we need more of you.
So, well, that's what I seem to do everywhere I go. I can sit on a doorstep and I see the homeless on the street, and I occasionally have a cigarette and they haven't got one. So I will sit next to them and I'll say, "Do you want a cigarette?" And I'll get the life
You help feed the
stories.
hungry.
Yeah. The life stories are so important. It's like,
Definitely.
yeah, so it's been an incredible journey for me the last 5 years. I think even Tracy from Law Councils, I don't know how you're still living. I don't know how you haven't killed yourself after what they've done to you. And I'm saying, well, I've come out much stronger, and even after my husband's passing and I met Howard, which is a soulmate that we met, I just feel as though I've stepped onto a different timeline. Like they can't touch me. Um, it's like you have to stand up and stand in truth and honor no matter what happens.
Mm.
Um, I think my book I wrote the whole journey of the courts in the book Shame on Them. It reached, I'm sure it's hit about 600,000 people now through social media. I just send it out as a PDF. Whether I'm in the local shops or whatever, we get talking and families are traumatized, and I will just take that email and send them a copy. And I'm sure for everyone I put out, another 50 is ready.
Well,
it's even reached China. When I was in China in November, when I was invited back, they were more interested in how we were taking on the system than actually.
Which is incredible, really. Because their government could almost. What is China like then? Because I know obviously we hear what we hear on the media, but something like that, a normie might think, well, just going to a meeting about how do you stop the system could be deemed as treasonous in the eyes of the Chinese government. But I don't think everything is as it is.
Are kind of beautiful because they've got an ancient philosophy, where there's no black and white. There are many roads that lead to Rome. There's a great respect for the elderly. There's a great respect for people of experience. If you just have to go into the hospitals there, and there's pictures of all the nurses, the directors, the previous past, they've got their little museums there. They totally respect you. I've got no respect here in New Zealand.
Or in the
I worked for 22 years and never lost a baby and saved the government millions, but I didn't because they lost it because there's no profit in home birth or normal birth. They want the interventions. They want to create them. It's all so corrupt. And I'm not saying that no parts of China's been monopolized by this, because I saw it, the way it was in Beijing and things like that. When I first got invited to China, it's because I wrote a book with Woman with Midwife with Me and My Body, My Baby, and I was found from publishing it that I got invited there. Now, when I went there, I actually started on my PowerPoint, and I thought they were great, and you had to reference all these references in it. And Meng Sure that invited me, she's like, I haven't brought you here for that. I want your experience. Yeah. These PowerPoints I put together were no different to the ones we're teaching here in the Western world. She says, no, we can read that up. We want to know how to, when to. We want to remove the fear. We just need you. And it took me about a few months to adjust to that. Yeah.
I mean, that is quite breakthrough, isn't it? That's quite a big step.
Well, she'd taken on a lot of the hospitals and the system there, and she developed the Chinese Confederation of Midwives. Now, I went to university once, right, because I was teaching midwives up and down New Zealand about homeopathy, but I had to conform to the system and have a certificate. So I went in 2002 to do a master's level 9 to do a certificate in health sciences, which put me at master's level, right? Well, how can this nobody go in there and do that? I had to pay somebody, right, to do a paper, to show me how to write an academic paper. Man, I needed a map to get around the library. And then I realized this through all the books here that were more than 5 years old. And I'm saying, oh my goodness, why have I got to spend 1 year trying to find somebody's name that said something I already know? That's the system we have. Yeah, it's all about money. It's all about that. So, going through that and then, getting back to China, there are achievements, but I saw how cruel the system is with the young ones because they don't have a life, because they're pushed through school and they don't have life. They have homework. And also in these
do you think that's done in a nefarious way, though? Do you think that's done as like an indoctrination, be good citizen, or do you just think that it's just generally a different outlook?
Well, it's the children are brought up with a lot of competition, but it's no different. If you watch the Chinese movies on YouTube, you'll actually understand the difference between the elite and the country bumpkins. Right? It's designed to break families up. It's designed to take kids away from families. Yeah. No family time. I felt sorry for the kids. I was down in the on the Vietnamese border in a place called Ba, and people live till they're 115. There's no Western pharmacies there. I was in the traditional hospitals. The only way we could make change was to make the changes in the rural areas and then pave your way into the cities.
See, medicine and food are the biggest
Well, the
contributors.
rural people are not stupid. They're very smart. And they've got a lot of trade. But the trade's been stamped away by the control of the corporations. Yeah. The farmers are controlled. Ministry of Primary Industries, they call themselves, and force them onto properties just to grab land.
See, our farmers at the moment are growing solar panels, which is quite a sight to behold. It's ridiculous.
Well, you've also got that influx in China as well, with the genetically modified and so-called experts from the West coming in to help them.
Like Bill Gates?
Yeah, growing, in these vast greenhouses. Some of my translators were working doing that. So, I'm quite extraordinary because I've met all these people in all these different
You should start your own YouTube
areas.
channel.
Boots on the ground. Yeah, boots on the ground.
Oh dear. No, it is a great
So
place
for China, if you go to a place like Qingdao, I loved it because I was working I was doing the work I was doing, but I wrote articles for the Foreigners magazine there. Yeah. You guys were in lockdown and I was happy I was sailing.
Nice.
And I've put it in the book, right? But Qingdao has a population of 20 million, right? And the traffic flows, all the lights, a synchronicity, there's no traffic jams. And if an accident or something, it's cleared in the matter of moments. Yeah. I can understand why they're moving more quickly because they're hardworking and they're much more open-minded than what we are.
And also, they probably just steal less off the people. The amount of taxes that the British, and I'm sure New Zealand's the same, is ridiculous. We're paying for diesel, it's nearly £2 a litre.
China, if you want to go a 2-hour drive to the airport, it's the equivalent of 15 UK pounds.
Which is cheap.
Yeah. And most of the cars and the taxis in China are electric. But when you think of the population, the vastness of the land, they can generate enough electric for the power. But if you look at like a little country like New Zealand, having electric cars, useless because we don't pump enough.
There's no infrastructure, especially because they're trying to demonize coal fires, even though China are making them at record speeds. Everywhere else is, you can't do that, climate change.
Well, we know the windmills that are supposed to generate electricity actually are failing, so they're using
more
petrol
electric to
generate them, aren't they? Yeah. So as for China, I love it. I love the country. It's too big for me. I like my little New Zealand where everything's so close and communities are close. Yeah. But you've just got to remember that the China we see in the big cities and the ghost cities that they built is not the China. Okay? When I got on the fast trains when I was there in 2016, I couldn't believe they were going at 225 k's an hour, right? and there was just this vastness of land. So what they've done is put the entire buildings into cities. They create the fog, because what they did in our apartments, we lived on the 34th floor, and they had wood burners. So you've got the smoke coming from the wood burners and the petrol fumes. People are wearing masks and you couldn't see across the road. But if you went into the rural area a little bit, you don't get any of that. And it's vast and it's wide. So I think China's bigger than what we think.
Mm-hmm.
I think the whole scamming of putting people into cities,
Rounding
right, has been to brainwash our mindsets that were totally polluted
and overpopulated.
Well, we was in Ningbo, for example. Ningbo is a beautiful city on the east coast, on the east, and our family drove us out for 2 hours to the lakes, right? And there was like a bridge, and there was 2 lakes. Do you know how wide each lake was?
I'm
Can you
going to
imagine?
guess. I'm going to guess maybe 8 kilometers
45 kilometers on each side.
So that's what I'm not very good. So what's that in miles then? 45 kilometers is about 20, 30 miles. Something like that.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, of lake. We went to Panda City. We had our ears cleaned in the People's Park. Well, Qingdao by itself, in 4 days, we walked, because it's on the sea and it's the naval port and it's across from Taiwan, right? We walked 40 kilometers in 3 days, just along the coast. Yeah, my knees were complaining after we'd done that trek, right?
I can imagine.
And I think if anybody's going to China and they really want to visit it, I think you've got the blend of culture and Western and German. I would say go to Qingdao. Yeah, Qingdao in China for a first visit, and then venture out. Because you've got the Laoshan Mountain, you've got the Taoist monks on the top and the temples, as well as a beautiful coastal area. You've got the culture, you've got the naval base, and there's also a German community that actually built it. And they need to go to a pub called the Tree by the Sea, because that's where all the Chinese foreigners meet who speak English.
Nice.
So now I'll just come back a little bit to the my escapade with the tribunal, and they fined me $80,000. But I put a notice out to say anybody publishing anything about the tribunal's decision would be personally accountable. And we sent that notice out to all the newspapers, media, governments, and everything. And 3 days later, the woman who was the registrar and previously acting CEO of Midwifery Council resigned. But they panicked before that result came out, and they removed me off the register, so they can't find me because I don't exist.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it?
So then we go into a wider dimension, because I've been helping quite a few midwives in the background and counselling, because they're being attacked in the hospitals because there's bullying and intimidation, but not only of the health professionals, but of the patients as well.
What patients that just question things?
Well, they bully the I can account for the bullying the midwives and trying to degrade them for saving. I mean, these midwives are saving lives. They're doing an incredible job, but they're bullied and intimidated by these managers. But then if any of the clients from these midwives go into hospital, the hospital teams intimidate the clients. Okay, it's appalling. So we put an IOA request through Law Council to ask how many health professionals, what's the turnover of your hospitals, right? It's a very full IOA request that put through, and then we noticed all the departments, the media, the politicians, the health and disciplinary commission, the health practitioners tribunal, the midwifery council. We put them all on notice that this was happening, and it was now a public inquiry. Well, it's gone pretty quiet, and we're still waiting for a bit of a response, but I think that they're all shuddering in their teeth. So this is the power you have as the people, right? And this is done through our private trust. Not from me, it's through the private trust, which has been acknowledged in the courts that it is a private trust by the judges at one court case. So it's the power of the people coming back at them, okay, with knowledge. Okay. Now, beforehand, you were saying that we've got a failing health system. Yeah.
Well, failing as far as what a health system should be. I'm sure it's not failing in their eyes. But yeah.
No, because they're only task orientated, that run around with little digital machines to tap in whatever into their system and prescribe you the drugs that they have to kill you with, basically. But the knowledge of the health professionals is nowhere near what it used to be like when I trained in the 70s.
Do you think some of that's because A, they're dumbing them down? B, is it because there's a lot of foreign, I mean, I don't know what it's like where you are, but the NHS, a huge percentage of the nurses and doctors are African.
Well, the thing is that they're trying to make us look at culture and where we're from, to say that the knowledge in India or the knowledge in China is not as good as what we have in the West. Well, there's a lot of knowledge. I mean, it just depends what you want. If you're looking at, say, the holistic practices of aromatherapy,
even the royal family won't do NHS stuff. King Charles
they
is
have their own homeopaths.
Holistic and
They
stuff.
have their own homeopaths.
So what does that
They have
tell
the
you?
homeopathic hospital in London, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there are different areas in different countries. So if you want to bring the specialists from Beijing, right, they would be very Western trained. But if I had a child that needed heart surgery, I would opt for China because they've got a population of 28 million and they've got a lot more hands-on experience. So, you've got to do your research and look at the bigger picture. Okay. I've got incredible midwives that are Iranian. I've got, some from Saudi. I've got incredible obstetricians in Brazil. The most amazing obstetricians in China have been doing breech births far longer than our obstetricians, with more experience and more normal births. We can't kind of judge country by experience. You've got to look at what experience you're looking at. When anyone comes into our Western countries and takes a job within the system, they have to work within the guidelines. As what happened in COVID, you obey.
Do as you're told.
Yeah, you obey the rules. You give these drugs. This is all you can give. You can't have a mindset. That's the way it's built up.
Yeah.
And that's what needs to change. It is changing. I believe it's changing. I believe there's a changeover happening. If you look at our Health New Zealand board of members, they've all resigned, probably because of part of the work I did, but running scared.
Mm-hmm.
They're all dropping like flies, really.
But I think those people should still be held accountable in their personal capacity.
Well, they
Even if they
will be
resign.
eventually, but but it's up to us as the foot soldiers, because I got all the evidence in writing against them. I've got an ACC claim with my husband because they kidnapped him and gave him remdesivir against my advice. And I took him out of there. They nearly killed him in there, okay, with the drugs they gave him. But ACC are now into the second phase of it. They tried to get out of it. They're trying to say, well, your husband's not here now. You have to find a lawyer and go to court. I said, well, actually, my husband signed a document before he passed to release all the medical records to me because I was smart, right?
Indeed, you were a legend.
So now they've got to continue with it. And now they're panicking and they will probably delay it, but they can't get out of it because I've got all the hospital notes.
Mm.
And they've written, wife says no remdesivir. And they still gave it.
What I would like
They gave
to
him
see...
10 milligrams of Valium 4 times a day, which is enough to knock out somebody huge, you know. I think because I had the knowledge and the background of nursing, and you know, I've worked in standalone units by myself, so where there's been no doctors. So, you know, when you go in there with that knowledge, they find it hard to handle. But I feel sorry for those who have gone in there and lost loved ones because they didn't have the knowledge. I saved my husband at that time, but how many died?
I don't think it's just knowledge, though, to be fair. I think, especially when, you know, people like you, it's not just knowledge, it's about dropping the fear as well, and having, you know, there's a lot of people that know things, but they don't ever act on those things, you know. And it's the mindset of having that determination to see something through. That's the biggest thing, acting on the knowledge as opposed to just having the knowledge. There's two different things.
You've got to have, I mean, people say don't mention the word fight because you're spiritual, but you've got to fight within.
Even Jesus threw up turntables when he got angry.
Yeah.
You know, he got angry, but he was fair.
Well, that was me turning over the tables with midwifery council and the Ministry of Health.
Yeah.
Threw the tables on them, all the judges in the court. Just imagine that is you, and you're throwing the tables over and exposing them.
I mean, the
more you expose them, and collect the information, it will be held against them. And I know that court cases are going through where there are wins, okay, because the whole justice system's been swamped out. It's been cleansed as we speak.
It is a spiritual war, and people that I've spoken to lots of people who aren't even slightly religious, but still say this is a spiritual war. It's a war against good and evil.
Yeah. Look at COVID times. I mean, like, you know, when I was in the supermarket and I got a trespass notice for not wearing a mask, and I sat down in the middle of the supermarket, thinking, well, I'm a pensioner and somebody might just offer to do my shopping. Yeah. And everybody was walking. They were like zombies.
Mm-hmm. And don't you think it's funny how, I don't know what it's like where you are, but in this country, they said, if you're a pensioner or you work for the NHS, you get to go shopping first. So essentially what they did is they put the people who were the most vulnerabilist with the weakest immune systems with the people who were working daily with disease.
Yeah, well, I remember standing outside Pack and Save in a big queue, and it was winter here in New Zealand. It gets wet and cold in winter. And they had the 6-foot distance then. And the storm was blowing and we were all getting soaking wet. Right? So I walked to the front and says, there's lots of vulnerable people out here. What are you doing? I says, here you are, keeping us distancing to prevent us getting sick. And you're making us get sick. You know, hello.
What was the response?
There was no response because people were so brainwashed at the time. They were just They were just struck. I don't know what it was at that time.
Even today, I'll still see people in a car on their own with a mask on.
Oh yeah, we see it too. We see it too. Not so many. New Zealand's an island, right? And it only takes like an hour to get from one side to the next. Yeah. And they're still wearing masks, riding bicycles.
Making themselves sick.
Well, they're making themselves very sick. Sorry, I've got to plug myself in here because I think my battery's going on. Yeah, they're making themselves more sick. But they are so paranoid. It's like, even now, it's like before the floods came, the advertisements on the TV would take out insurance for flooding.
Pre-programming.
And now we've got take out insurance for earthquakes. We might get one, but, they actually tell you what's coming ahead. So when it happens, people just don't react. Oh, it's normal. We're going to get earthquakes. We're going to get floods. We're going to get this. It's like becomes a normal day experience for them. I think that, it's a crazy world, and I'm seeing what's going off in the UK. I follow the Telegram posts of what's going off there. I see, contacts in America and Iran and all the other places, and give optimism and tell them not to watch the news, but to look in the other direction. And everything that's reported on the news is over exaggerated. It's wrong. It's not right. A lot of people are carrying on with their lives. They're not going to shut everything down at once because the whole world still got to survive. So it will happen in different places at different times. We know about the petrol. We know about
they're called news stories for a reason.
Yeah, we know about the petrol crisis at the moment. It's temporary. It's going to come down. They're only doing that. It's not. We're not just looking at the shutting off of that. We're looking at the people behind it that are getting rid of the petrol monopoly.
Or is the petrol crisis just a problem reaction solution thing? Oh, well, what we need, because nobody can afford to drive a car anymore because it's just so overpriced. What about if we design these little 15-minute cities so you've got everything within walking distance, that you don't actually need the car, because the car has been victimized probably for the best part of 10 years.
Or it could be that the governments are bankrupt, so they're desperate to make money and they're using this as an excuse.
But I don't see how they can be bankrupt. The amount of
they are.
Every pound that we earn, about 70 or 80p of that ends up on tax.
Yeah, well, the thing is that you buying your rights. If you collect a receipt from every supermarket and store, you should collect them together and send them into the treasury and tell them to pay you back. For every dollar you spend, it's yours. It's like that was the deal. We'll hand over the gold and silver and everything else, but everything we have is paid for. So it's paid for by the treasurer. I'd like to see people who've got the guts to do that. Let them. If everybody in the UK and where we are just kept sending the receipts in and flooding the treasury, they'll get pretty pissed off.
Well, what I can tell you what people have been doing, because of the direct debit guarantee, people have been claiming back all their past direct debits from like council tax and all that, and getting all that money reimbursed. With the petrol side of things, we've got people going into the petrol station, paying for the petrol, but saying, I refuse to pay for the tax though. So here's the 30 quid for the fuel, the 60 quid for the tax, and then they're gone.
But I think with this awakening, we are the boots on the ground, right? Mine is sorting out the system here. I'm even taking on Ministry of Social Development, right? The health system's failures when they sent the ambulance for my husband and he had the heart attack or stroke. They sent incompetent people over. They were nice, they were charming. Fortunately, I had somebody with me. Yeah. And from there, we had to wait for them to bring someone more experienced out. And then they didn't have the proper equipment. So he died on my arms on the way to the hospital. And the hospital's only 10 minutes away. So then they had me in the ambulance with my husband who'd passed on in my arms, parked in the hospital car park. They wouldn't bring a doctor out to certify he'd passed.
Why?
Because you tell me why. So I was sitting there with him for 2 hours, and then they took him when I realised that they hadn't collected the ECG traces that they'd done, so I picked the original ones up. I don't know why I did it, it just happened. I just said, there's something wrong here.
Intuition.
So the police came along very, very nicely, and then they took my husband away. They lost his body for 3 days, for example. I didn't know where he was. I never saw him, actually, before he was cremated. But the following day, the police came to the house asking me if I'd been giving him experimental drugs.
Did you say, no, I'm not a doctor?
No, I took out a pack of baking soda and says, here's some Gilmore's baking soda. I gave him that for a bit of indigestion. Do you want to take it away for forensics? And they just looked at me. And then we got onto the coroner's because they were pushing for a post-mortem. Now, I was scared, right? I was scared because I've taken on the system, right?
So do you think that, were you under the impression, or were you thinking that they're out
Well,
to
if
get
that
me now?
post-mortem would have gone ahead the way they wanted it, they probably would have found something to incriminate me with. I think that there was something behind it, because why would it happen?
What do you mean, that they would put something there to be found to incriminate you?
Oh, yes, they do. They do these things. Don't put it beyond them. But fortunately, I'd got the ECG reports, and we went through to the coroner and says, well, he died of a heart attack. It's on this paper. So then they didn't do the post-mortem.
So where, just out of curiosity, because it baffles me how you can lose a body for 3 days, did you ever find out where they left
We
him?
eventually found out that he'd gone to the city hospital, and why would they send him to the city hospital when the other hospital where I live is just 10 minutes down the road?
Unless one has a morgue and the other one doesn't.
Yeah, but then I've heard it's happened to a lot of other people as well. Is it money laundering? Is it? Well, I don't know.
Well, I think organ harvesting is quite a big thing at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah,
But then,
yeah.
I don't know how. I imagine a younger organ would have been preferred than an older, but it's weird.
Well, what makes you laugh is that the lawyer from the Midwifery Council who resigned, guess where she's gone? Ministry of Social Development. And who am I taking on right now? Ministry of Social Development.
You're like the thorn in the side.
It just follows through. So I just thought I'd give you a bit of an update.
Thank you.
Let you know what's happening.
Well, I'm just grateful that you're still smiling.
Well, I'm very spiritual. And like I say, he's like, my late husband went through a lot with what I went through. And he's looking down saying, keep going, keep going. Don't give in.
That's it. You've got one more spiritual warrior on your side now.
Yeah, I got lots of them, I think. But it's up to all of us to do our bit. Absolutely. Yeah, in our communities. I've offered at a community centre. Well, this is another thing. I've offered at a community centre to go in and help them out with whatever they need. Because I used to do a lot of pro bono work, for the Polish Association. I could do counselling and help people. Then they said, well, do you have a degree in counselling? So this is what I'm a nurse.
In life.
A midwife. I says, I'm a diploma in homeopathy and homeopaths are counsellors. I said, how much do you want?
Exactly. Well, I wish you every success, and I'm sure that you will get it, because it's just in your character. You're an amazing person.
I just love the people, and I just want to give hope and optimism to everybody out there. stand in truth. You are the authority. If you have to do the meditation to live in the moment, it will help you go within. And I'm going to say that Paul Santisi in 2015 released Mind Silence. Okay, because a lot of us are too worked up and stressed to get into a meditation state.
Mm-hmm.
If you listen to what he does, he saved my life when I was suicidal in 2015 because the system was attacking me then. But it helps you go into the mind silence and shift all the negativity. So I would say, see Paul Santisi, do the mind silence. He's on YouTube, Paul Santisi, mind silence.
Okay.
Just do it, okay? Because he talks to you in a way, he rambles on a bit, but he talks to you in a way that you don't realize you've got into that state. I actually spoke to him, actually. He's an amazing man. I thanked him because if I hadn't have gone through that, because the system was attacking me for 3 years for something that wasn't my fault, and one of my midwife friends, she actually hung herself. So if it wasn't for doing things like that, I wouldn't get through it. Go onto YouTube now and tap in frequency healing. It can be for anything. It can be for sleeplessness. It can be for ascension. It can be for ailments that you have. So just tap in the problem, go into frequency healing, put the little earphones in. I have my little ones here. Okay.
I hope they're wired.
Like this. They go on for about 11 hours and the vibrations you feel a lot better and you send to yourself. You can put an anti-radiation thing on your phone if you want.
I've seen some of those, yeah. What does
I've stuck one on mine.
What does 128 hertz do?
Well, I'd have to go back to my I'll send you the lecture notes that I did in China about sound and colour healing, which actually has the table of what it does.
Okay, that's cool. I'm slightly colourblind. I don't know if that would have any effect.
Well, I'll send you the PowerPoint. You know, what I learned as well when I was talking about this on the stage in China was the ancient philosophies of each country actually blend into sound healing and colour light therapy, okay, and the life force. So I was able to find quotes from Chinese culture when I was on the stage to blend in with what I was speaking. And then I did it to the Iranian midwives and brought in the Safi Iranian philosophy into it. And you realize that every country has it doesn't matter if you're Christian or if it's the ancient Chinese, or it's all the same. It's all similar philosophies, but you're able to resonate with our peoples because we are one peoples with beautiful cultures. That's what makes us perfect.
No, couldn't agree more. In fact, I can't remember who it was that I was listening to the other day, and they said, like, with regards to religion, it is pretty much all the same. It's just different characters playing the roles, but the underlying message is frequency, vibration, everything is within. If you don't like what you're seeing out there, then you've got to change it from within here. All that. I'm a big believer in that. Yeah, I can't wait for a consciousness upgrade for both myself and my fellow man and women.
Yeah, well, I don't belong to any religion. I just belong to the universe and the great philosophies. But everyone's got a right, because I think everything, doesn't matter if it's Buddhism or if it's Christianity, they all go back to the same thing: love one another, do no harm, respect the elders, you know, all of that. Yeah. So it's all basically natural.
Natural law is what we need to go back to.
Natural law. Yeah.
Listen, thank you very much. I've loved listening to you talk. I always do. I know it's getting late there and I've got some editing to do. So thank you so much for your story, your courage and your positivity, shining a light on the world. I really appreciate it.
No problems. Blessings to everybody. Lots of love and light. And we'll say
Perfect.
good night.
Good night. All the best. One love. And I look forward to speaking to you again in the not too distant future.
Yeah. And I'll talk to you
Awesome.
soon,
Take
especially
care.
with the chocolate.
Oh, nice. All the best. Take care.
All the best. Bye. Bye.